The First World War was not only fought in muddy trenches, but also upon the vast and unforgiving seas. In 1916, two titans of naval power prepared for a clash that would echo across history. The British Royal Navy, guardian of the seas for centuries, faced the rising German high seas fleet, daring to challenge that supremacy. The North Sea became their battlefield, where dreadnoughts roared like thunder and thousands of lives were sealed by fire and steel. This was the Battle of Jutland, the greatest naval confrontation of the Great War. A struggle without clear victor, yet one that shaped the fate of empires. Welcome to World Epic History. The First World War was not only fought on muddy trenches, but also on open seas. The Battle of Jutland emerged as the greatest World War I naval battle, where the British Royal Navy and the German High Seas Fleet clashed. It was a struggle of steel and fire, where dreadnought battleships determined empire's fate. The cold waters of the North Sea would soon become the graveyard of many sailors. The British Royal Navy had ruled the seas for centuries, its fleet unmatched in size and tradition. By 1916, its Grand Fleet anchored at Scapa Flow was the pride of naval history. Across the North Sea, the German High Seas Fleet prepared, smaller yet modern, designed to challenge Britain's supremacy. Both sides knew that a decisive World War I naval battle could alter the balance of power. The stage was set in late May 1916. Admiral Sir John Jellicoe commanded the British Grand Fleet, while Vice Admiral Reinhard Scheer led the German High Seas Fleet. Each man carried the hopes of his nation. The dreadnought battleships, with their massive guns, waited for orders. Never before had so many powerful warships gathered for a single clash in naval history. On May 31, 1916, the Battle of Jutland began. British scouting forces under Vice Admiral Beatty encountered the German battle cruiser squadron led by Admiral Hipper. The clash erupted with thunderous gunfire as dreadnought battleships and battle cruisers exchanged salvos across the gray waters. This was no ordinary skirmish. It was the opening act of the greatest World War I naval battle, where steel hulls trembled under massive shells. The British Royal Navy initially pressed forward, but the German High Seas Fleet fought fiercely. Hipper's ships fired with deadly accuracy, striking Beatty's battlecruisers. Within minutes, HMs Indefatigable and HMs Queen Mary exploded in towering fireballs, shocking onlookers. Thousands of sailors perished instantly. Naval history had rarely witnessed such destruction so quickly, a grim reminder of how lethal dreadnought battleships could be in this World War I naval battle. Despite terrible losses, the British Royal Navy pressed on. Admiral Beatty, though shaken, turned his surviving ships northward, luring the Germans toward Jellicoe's main fleet. The Battle of Jutland now shifted into a larger confrontation. Unknown to Scheer, he was sailing straight into the jaws of Britain's full naval might. The clash of dreadnought battleships was about to intensify into one of naval history's most decisive engagements. By late afternoon, Jellicoe deployed the British Grand Fleet into a massive battle line. Hundreds of heavy guns aligned against the horizon, ready to unleash destruction. As the German High Seas Fleet approached, Scheer realized he faced overwhelming numbers. The Battle of Jutland entered its climactic phase, a duel of dreadnought battleships where survival itself depended on precision, discipline, and sheer luck amid the smoke-filled chaos of naval history. The two fleets collided in a storm of steel. Dreadnought battleships fired broadside after broadside, their shells crashing into armored hulls. Explosions lit the sky as ships burned and sank. The noise was deafening, echoing across the North Sea. The Battle of Jutland was no longer a maneuver of fleets. It was a test of endurance, the largest World War I naval battle ever fought, shaping naval history forever. As darkness approached, visibility worsened. Gun flashes lit the evening sky, while searchlights pierced the haze. The British Royal Navy attempted to encircle the German High Seas Fleet, but Scheer ordered desperate maneuvers to escape. The Battle of Jutland turned chaotic, with dreadnought battleships exchanging fire in confusion. It was a World War I naval battle, fought not just with steel, but with nerves stretched to the breaking point. Amid the chaos, British destroyers launched torpedo attacks against the German line. Sleek and fast, they darted between dreadnought battleships, risking annihilation. Several torpedoes struck home, forcing German ships to veer off course. The Battle of Jutland showcased not only heavy gunnery, but also the deadly effectiveness of smaller vessels. Naval history was being rewritten in real time, where courage and sacrifice shaped the fate of fleets. By nightfall, the Battle of Jutland raged on in scattered duels. The British Royal Navy still held the advantage in numbers, but German gunnery inflicted terrible punishment. Several dreadnought battleships on both sides limped away, scarred and burning. The German High Seas Fleet, though battered, managed to slip southward under cover of darkness, seeking safety in its bases. Naval history rarely balanced destruction and survival, so finally .ult text. When dawn broke on June 1st, the full scale of the Battle of Jutland became clear. The North Sea was littered with wrecks, oil slicks, and floating debris. Thousands of sailors had gone to their graves beneath the waves. Both the British Royal Navy and the German High Seas Fleet claimed victory, yet neither destroyed the other. It was a World War I naval battle of attrition, not conquest. Casualties were staggering. The British Royal Navy lost over 6,000 men and 14 ships, while the German High Seas Fleet lost 2,500 men and 11 ships. Despite heavier losses, Britain still controlled the sea, keeping Germany's fleet bottled up. The Battle of Jutland became a paradox in naval history. Tactically, a German success. Strategically, a British victory. The dreadnought battleships had spoken, but the war at sea continued. The outcome of the Battle of Jutland puzzled many. Newspapers in Britain expressed outrage at the losses, questioning why the mighty British Royal Navy had not destroyed the German High Seas Fleet. Yet Jellicoe's caution preserved Britain's supremacy. The German fleet never again challenged the Royal Navy in full force. This World War I naval battle became a lesson in patience, endurance, and the unforgiving reality of dreadnought warfare. For the German High Seas Fleet, Jutland was both triumph and frustration. They had sunk more ships and inflicted higher casualties, yet their strategic position remained unchanged. The British blockade continued, strangling German trade and supplies. The Battle of Jutland proved that even with tactical brilliance, naval history favored those who controlled the seas. The dreadnought battleships returned to port, scarred and battered, symbols of both power and limitation. Naval history would remember the Battle of Jutland not as a clear victory, but as a turning point. It demonstrated the scale and destruction of dreadnought battleships, reshaping naval strategy worldwide. From the United States to Japan, admirals studied the lessons of Jutland. The World War I naval battle revealed that future wars at sea would be fought with caution, calculation, and overwhelming firepower. Among sailors, the memory of Jutland was carved in loss. Survivors told stories of ships exploding in seconds, of comrades vanishing beneath the waves. For the British Royal Navy, it was proof of resilience despite pain. For the German High Seas Fleet, it was pride tempered by limitation. The Battle of Jutland became not only part of naval history, but also part of human tragedy in World War I. Jutland also marked the twilight of the dreadnought era. Though mighty, these battleships revealed their vulnerabilities to torpedoes, mines, and submarines. The World War I naval battle showed that dominance no longer belonged solely to big guns. The future of naval history would belong to versatility and new technologies. Yet in 1916, the sight of these massive warships clashing still represented the peak of human naval ambition. In Germany, propaganda painted Jutland as a victory. Posters celebrated the German High Seas Fleet for striking the mighty British Royal Navy. Yet behind the triumph, admirals knew the truth. The blockade remained, and Germany's fleet could not break free. The Battle of Jutland was a tactical spark, but a strategic failure. Naval history often reminds us that victory on paper is not always victory in reality. In Britain, public opinion was divided. Many expected a second Trafalgar, a crushing triumph over Germany. Instead, the Battle of Jutland ended in disappointment and grief. Still, historians later argued that Britain achieved what mattered most: control of the seas. The British Royal Navy emerged bloodied but unbroken, ensuring that Germany's high seas fleet remained confined. World War I naval battles would never again reach this scale of dreadnought fury. For Admiral Jellicoe, the Battle of Jutland was bittersweet. He preserved the British Royal Navy's dominance, but faced criticism for caution. For Admiral Scheer, it was a demonstration of German courage, yet a reminder of their fleet's limits. Both men became part of naval history, remembered not for decisive victory, but for commanding the largest World War I naval battle ever fought. Their choices shaped the fate of empires. The legacy of the Battle of Jutland endured beyond 1916. It influenced naval designs, strategies, and doctrines. Dreadnought battleships remained symbols of power, but admirals now valued speed, coordination, and intelligence. Naval history shows how this World War I naval battle shifted thinking worldwide. Though inconclusive, Jutland proved that control of the seas required more than firepower. It demanded vision. The British Royal Navy learned, adapted, and endured. Among sailors and families, Jutland was remembered in names etched on memorials. Towns across Britain and Germany mourned the dead. The World War I naval battle became a reminder of sacrifice at sea, of men who never returned. In naval history, the dreadnought battleships of Jutland stood as floating cathedrals of destruction, yet also as tombs. The grief of 1916 still echoed in coastal villages long after the guns fell silent. Strategically, the Battle of Jutland secured Britain's blockade, ensuring the German high seas fleet never broke through. This slow suffocation of supplies weakened Germany's war effort. While armies clashed on land, the Royal Navy silently strangled its enemy. Naval history often overlooks attrition, but here was decisive. The World War I naval battle may not have been glorious, but it was crucial in determining the war's outcome. The Battle of Jutland ended without clear victory, but its echoes shaped the century. It was the clash of the British Royal Navy and the German High Seas Fleet, the greatest World War I naval battle. In naval history, Jutland stood as both triumph and tragedy, a reminder that even the mightiest dreadnought battleships could not promise certainty. The North Sea remained cold, vast, and eternal, holding the memory of 1916 within its waves.